What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Drill Down. My name's Jason Schlodweiler. I'm here with Chris.
Chris Walker, everyone.
Got Andy.
Hello.
We'll do a short intro again.
What, every time?
People ask every time we go live who we are, so I think it's just, for a while, we'll do the intros. Yeah. Andy, why don't you start this time?
All right, my name's Andy Shama. I'm on the content team here with Chris Walker at Flow Sports, FloMarching. I marched drum corps in 2012 with the Glassmen, 2014 with the Bluecoats, and 2015 with the Blue Devils. Jason and I spent a year together at the Bluecoats. Chris, I'll toss it.
Hold on, were you getting tilted up or what?
Oh my gosh.
We were getting tilted.
Yeah, okay, we got tilted. Good. We've heard that probably a billion times.
So where did you march, Jason?
Why don't you go next, Chris? Tell us.
No, because I got something I want to say after.
Okay, I marched Troopers for a year, Vanguard for a year, then another year, and then Bluecoats. I marched Rhythm X and Indoor. I taught the Blue Stars. I taught Monarch, Nexus, Center Grove. I think that's everything.
Yeah, so if there's one thing you fans will notice, there's no loyalty that these guys have with any drum corps that they march. So
Here we go.
I am the most loyal. I only auditioned at one place, and I didn't make the cut twice. That was early 2000s Cavaliers. They were kind of on top of the world at that time. So
Definitely were. And you auditioned
I wasn't on top of the world.
Snare or front ensemble?
Front ensemble. See, I was a snare drummer in high school, but I broke my back right after high school. I was 18 years old.
Skateboarding?
Nope. You think it would be. I was sober as a bird. We had this, and flying kind of like a bird, we had this rope swing over a cliff in my friend's backyard, and the rope swing broke while I was on it at about 3 a.m.
I would come up with a cooler story for how you broke your back.
I don't know, flying through the air, through some bamboo. I mean, it's kind of the story. So it's as cool as it is. Broke through vertebrae, spent a few days in the hospital. So that kind of ruined my chances of marching drum corps with a drum on me. So after I recovered years later, I went in my kind of early 20s to do like a rook-out year. Didn't work out. Oh, well, so it goes. But I went on to study music, have a couple degrees here, so that's me.
Chris has a master's in music composition, okay? He knows what he's talking about.
Yes.
And he brings a lot of knowledge to this team, I would say.
So much knowledge. That's what I bring to this team is knowledge, I think. So, and the loyalty.
That's a whole nother discussion. Drum corps loyalty.
Let's get into that next week.
All right. Agenda today, we're going to be talking about Andy's Cadets visit. I think that was 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. We had Chris hit up the SCV camp 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. I was with Cadets last weekend.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about that a little bit. And then we also had someone by the name of Jim Casella here at Flow for 2 days. And if you're not familiar, one, shame on you. Two, we'll tell you all about him, but he's a pretty big name in the marching percussion world and has accomplished a lot. So it was great to have him here for 2 days shooting with him.
But we'll get into more of that later. One thing I want to talk about before we get into kind of talking about those drum corps camps is that we have some articles, as always, a lot of really cool in-depth articles on the website. From Dan Shack, we've got Lindsay Vento. Her first article's coming out tomorrow. So her take on design for drum corps and fall band, and I think even there, it's just design as overall as a whole. Some really cool articles coming out. Today we have a Dan Shack article dropping about approaching visual basics and creating a culture around it in the drumline world. So me as a hornline member, I noticed that the drumlines percussion groups that I marched with were always way less focused on visual aspect. Naturally, it's just a part of the activity.
I could count on one hand how many full-on vis blocks we had at some drum corps I marched.
Yeah, so there you have it. I know I couldn't count the number of visual blocks that I went through, but cool article there. Read it. It'll be you'll love it.
Okay, first thing on the agenda, we're talking about the Cadets visit. Andy?
Yeah, so I'll pick that one up. We went to the Cadets camp in New Jersey, their early March camp. It was brass only. So I got to hear the brass and watch them march, learn their visual techniques, or at least take their next step in the visual technique, so to speak. So we got some really cool technique videos with them. Basically, you get to see the exercises that the cadets are doing that build up into their, as I put it on the website, their iconic straight leg technique. So it's really cool. There's been some staff turnaround over the last couple of years, but what's really traditional for the cadets is still there. even in 2019. So yeah, there's some really cool stuff there.
Does anyone else do straight leg like Cadets?
A lot of drum corps march straight leg, but I think they do it a little bit differently than everybody else.
Yeah, I mean the cadets look is just so iconic, and the way they step off with their right foot, their halt position is typically a closed first position, which means their feet are parallel. That's not very normal.
I don't know if anybody else does that.
Yeah.
as their go-to.
Yeah. So, those elements are actually in there, and you can see, from my perspective, having learned how to do, very relatively straight leg techniques at the Blue Coats and Blue Devils, the way they actually work around the closed parallel halt position, essentially. It's really interesting. They actually do have to take a little bit different of an approach to it.
Do you want to hop up on the table and demonstrate?
Absolutely not. No,
okay.
I did want to hop in and do visual block with them, though, so badly. It was so fun to watch them this early in the season.
Can't say I've ever said that while watching a group rehearse in Vish Block.
Yeah.
Well, Andy's kind of the resident visual guy, so.
It's my thing, yeah. More so than the playing. But we did get one video that I want to show everybody. You probably have already seen it. 3 notes from the Cadets closer. We called it a teaser. So let's go ahead and just take a look at that. And 3. All right, so as you can see there, 3 notes, 3 chords. You can't really figure too much about it, but
people thought they had it figured out. We had so many comments saying Firebird, Firebird, Firebird.
But
wrong.
If you look at the comments, actually, a friend of mine, personal friend of mine, and a current corps manager for the Cadets goes on and responds to somebody. They actually said $1,000 if this isn't Firebird Suite. And he responded, please contact me for more information on how to donate to the Cadets. So,
what's that guy's name? Should we shout him out?
No,
we're going to hold you accountable.
I don't want to do that. But yeah, Cadets, you got a $1,000 donation coming your way. It is not Firebird. Confirmed. I was there. I watched it. I listened to it. Not Firebird.
3 notes could be a lot of songs.
Yeah, it could. Another thing that I captured this weekend, which I was super happy with, really cool to sit down with Drew Shanefield, one of the design team. He writes the music arranger. As I said, a member of their design team. So I just want to show a little clip from that as well. And this question that I ask him is about the things he's most excited for the Cadets in 2019. And let's go ahead and listen to his answer.
There's a whole element, Andy, of behind the scenes Cadets and the administration thereof with youth education and the arts. There's a whole systems and management and organizational piece that is being reoriented. However, whatever the old model was, taking that model, keeping what worked, tweaking maybe what needed to tweak, and kind of getting that motor and that machine behind the Cadets really, really moving ahead. So by the time it gets to an audience or it gets to our members, they're really, really taken care of, and they're really, really in good shape. The general vibe that I think I'm most excited about taking away from my takeaway as of where we are in March and where we're going, is that it feels really good to be really good. Do you know what I mean? Nothing is, excellence is excellence. And no matter what we do design-wise, that's kind of that excellence piece that the members bring to the field is first and foremost. And it feels really exciting for me to give them the opportunity, whether it's through their horns or through the overall audio-visual package, to sort of help do my little bit to kind of help them bring it to life.
So as you can see, what he's getting at there is that he feels really confident about the things happening behind the scenes. And it's 2018 was a big year for the Cadets, a big transitionary year. As we know, we're not going to get into the news of everything, but the administration had to take on quite a task in bringing the Cadets organization into 2019 the right way. So they've got their props put together, they've got all their show music put together, they've got their uniforms put together. I think we're going to see a really good Cadets drum corps in 2019 I'm really excited.
As always, I mean, they're always
yeah. I mean,
top for me.
even going through last year and how difficult it was, they still ended up with a complete show that had a real, and Drew talks about this in the interview, like a really complete show with quite a bit of meaning and a really successful program despite the way they were set up. So it's super cool to see the cadets, moving forward and kind of making that page turn.
Let's move it on to our next topic. We have Chris. Tell us what you want to tell us about that Vanguard visit.
So a couple weeks ago, went out with Vanguard. It was their brass and percussion camp. Obviously, the guard is not there.
Not yet.
But they were doing some show music. They were doing some learning of show music. The drum line specifically was kind of just chunking through some music. So I was able to get in with the snares, with the tenors, with the basses, and just get a few bars, which I think is such a cool thing. So we're going to roll this clip of the snares learning just a moment of the show. I don't know where this is or what it is or if it'll be there in the end, but this is kind of something they were working through while I was at the camp.
Yep. Let's go from 20 to 34, and let's hear the center three. Yeah, so it kind of goes by in a flash, right? So this actually, I mean, it's not a drum solo. It's just this tasty little moment. So try not to make it seem too like over the top, in terms of the dynamics of the inner beats. Keep it tasty.
The coolest thing personally of going on these trips is like we want to focus on the teaching aspect of this. Obviously, these drum corps are in February, March, like their mindset right now. But in the end, it's what happens on the field in August. And so the way the staff members are able to get this, level of excellence performance out of these performers, it starts here. It starts right now. Your success in August starts in winter camps. So it's really cool to actually get to see that and see the talent that they have in their staff.
Yeah, one of the clips, if you check it out online, the brass capture manager, he was talking about how coming out in the February camp, they're coming out above everyone else. And that's what happened last year. He was like, why we were so successful last year? It's because we came out above everyone else. In that first show, we were above everyone else, and we just continued it throughout the whole season. So it starts at these early camps, coming with, all that energy, coming prepared, and we get to see it, and it sounds amazing, like already,
Yeah.
The snare drums, they're working out their notes. There's a couple of rims that happen, but
that's a part of it.
Playing on the rims, that's just a part of the learning process. So, and that's another really cool thing for me is we see them in the lot, we see them on finals night, we see the perfect show, but no one really talks about the hours and hours and hours and months of work that it takes to go into playing this one measure that is just one of
not even a
hundreds
feature,
of measures.
just a little moment.
Yeah, or if you do talk about it, you don't know exactly what they're doing. Like they're putting in that work, but you don't know their process. So that's the coolest thing about these behind the scenes videos.
Another cool thing we got, I was hanging out with Bryce, and we were just having like a fun interview at the end of the camp. I turned around and I was like, "Oh, hey, do you want to talk about this year?" And we talked about a variety of things. One of them was a little shout out to this upcoming I&E. So let's cut to the clip here.
Cameron, get in on this.
Come on in.
This looks terrible.
What day is I&E?
I don't know. Semifinals? No, prelims? Day before
It's
prelims?
like the 8th or 9th.
It's the day before prelims.
We got a message for Brandon Hollander.
Oh, do we?
Hey Brandon, this is Cameron and this is Bryce.
What's up?
We'll be competing at I&E this year and we're looking forward to seeing you hopefully. See you there.
Have a good summer.
So both of those guys have one I&E. Brandon obviously has one I&E. The little friendly call out.
Yeah, and it is friendly. You know, we hope you have a good summer.
But in all seriousness, it would be cool, Brandon, if you competed in I&E this year. We could get all three of them in.
That would be awesome. Yeah. Well, what else do we have on the docket? We want to talk about Jim Casella.
Ooh, yeah, this is exciting.
Jim Casella, yeah. So for those of you that don't know who Jim Casella is, he marched in the late 80s with Santa Clara. I guess this is a big Santa Clara time.
Yeah, it is.
I think he did march
He
Vanguard.
did, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think he was talking about loyalty. I think he marched like 3 years on the baseline, something like that, where you guys marched a variety of places over your career. So
Times are changing.
Keep digging.
Times are changing. But he also taught there. I think he got to start with the Vanguard Cadets, writing, front ensemble, drumline, doing all the show stuff there, writing and arranging. Went on to work with just the Vanguard. What do we call that? The A Corps?
Yeah.
And then in the in the early 2000s, moved over and worked with the Cavaliers. After that, well, actually, kind of while that was all happening, he started Tap Space Publications, and that's like the premier percussion music source. So if you want solo music literature, they have that there. If you want percussion ensemble music, you have it there. If you want old drum corps like notes, they have some stuff there, and a bunch of new stuff coming out all the time. On top of that, he's a film composer, an active composer and arranger, business owner, does all these really cool things. And
Started VDL too, right?
Started Virtual Drumline. And apparently, when he was on tour with Vanguard in the early 2000s, he was recording a lot of the samples himself, on the tour, and getting other players
crazy.
to come in, and they would like take over a drum shop one night and record samples like till the next morning. So a lot of cool stuff. We got to just kind of hear about his backstory, and do some fun pieces with him.
Yeah, I got to look at just one of those pieces I was able to help shoot the video on. Just listening to him talk about, he pulls out his old scores from SCV 2000.
And he's written some iconic books, if you're
Yeah.
not familiar, some iconic Vanguard percussion books.
The funniest part, though, is that he's completely humble. He doesn't realize kind of the effect I think he's had on this activity. So it's really cool to just be able to sit down and talk to him, in two chairs, and just like go over all of this stuff that's so iconic to everybody else, but to him it's just, a moment in his past and, builds up to where he is now.
Yeah, I think that he influenced a ton of people that write percussion music today.
Yeah.
And it was an honor to be able to have him in for 2 days and be able to talk to him. We also did some fun things. I used to do these Music Theory Thursdays.
Yeah,
I've
what's
only
that?
did,
My
like,
favorite
three of
pieces
them.
of content.
What's a Music
They
Theory
just-
Thursday?
It takes so long to do, and Thursdays happen every week. That's a lot. But Jason and I were having a discussion one day about polyrhythms, and I was trying to figure out how you can understand mathematically working out any polyrhythm. And Jason goes, well, you just have to feel it out. It's all about
That's the
feel.
simple version of what I said.
Yeah, well, okay, well, what is the not simple
when
version?
you're thinking about complex polyrhythms and you're playing it in a setting of 9 snare drummers, then you're not going to break down exactly where each hand lines up with the other one. You're going to think more big picture. But if you're doing it on your own, then you can get into the nitty-gritty. That was what I'm saying. I'm not saying just feel it. You
Well, I
don't
guess
need to
everyone
care
has
about
their
it
own
being
process.
perfect. But if you're trying to do it with 9 people, it has to be a little bit more big picture, I think.
But you have to understand the underlying current, and that was my point, is that there is an underlying current, and not everyone's going to feel maybe what the current is, because it can be very fine, like the resolution. I guess to bring some light onto that, or into that, we'll have a whole Music Theory Thursday talking about polyrhythms. And I got
should have
Jim
had me
Casella
on.
talking
Missed
about-
opportunity.
Well, we'll see. I built a program, so
It's pretty nifty. I remember one night after a band show, we were just sitting around in the hotel room, and Chris starts showing me this program, and it's basically nothing more than just programming like code, and you're just telling something like a machine to basically create beats at certain moments and measures, and you figured out how to analyze polyrhythm essentially.
Yeah, using Max MSP plug there, you can kind of program almost anything you want. And so I have a number, blank over blank. So 2 over 3, the
Complicated
machine
stuff.
will play it.
Yeah.
But the understanding of how it works is also built into there. So
Yeah, super cool. we can't wait for
be
that
on the
music
lookout
theory.
for that in a few weeks. Probably not this Thursday.
Yeah,
Maybe not even next Thursday. They take a while to put together.
they do for sure.
But definitely be on the lookout for that.
Cool. Is there anything else you want to talk about, Jim Casella? I know we were talking about.
Yeah, one thing that sticks out to me is he's a super down to earth guy.
Right.
You know, like you said, he might not know. I think he has a pretty good understanding of his influence in the world of drums. You know, owning Tap Space and then all of his years in the drum corps world, virtual drumline. He's kind of single-handedly touched almost all of our lives that come out of that world. But one thing that he does, or talked about rather, is taking time away for yourself, kind of an escape into nature. So he'll take these trips with other drum corps friends that he has. They went to Nepal one year. They went to Peru.
Right.
I think they're going to Corsica this upcoming year. So
Yeah.
I think it's just important to have that time away from being plugged in. You know,
Right.
being able to unplug in the current climate of technology and just kind of being bombarded with everything all the time. It's great to take a step outside of that.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty standard for almost everything you should do in moderation and be able to. It's nice that he has the ability to take these trips. With his success, he gets to go to when he's unplugging, he gets to go to these beautiful places and climb all these he climbs too, which is also really interesting about him.
I think he said he climbed like every peak like in Oregon
Yeah.
or something. I don't know. An outdoorsy type.
Yeah, super
I don't
cool.
have like the jackets to be able to go out into the cold. I'm not that kind of person. I don't think. I might go walking on the trail with my dogs. That's about it. Climbing the peak of like Mount Hood, I don't think it's gonna happen.
Well,
But that's just
Not
me.
for everybody.
That's
Not
just
for
me.
everybody.
so I'm going to switch gears over here. We have one regional coming up. We're pretty much done with the show, but one regional coming up this weekend. WGI Indianapolis will be percussion regional. It's a pretty big percussion regional too, I would say. Something like 45 groups-ish performing this weekend in prelims and finals. We have Scholastic A will be cut down to about half between prelims and finals, but I believe everybody else will move on and get a second performance. We will have some coverage there. It won't be us there, but we do have some people there that will be capturing some videos. So that'll be cool to get some insight into some of those groups we haven't seen yet this season. A couple of those groups include Matrix Open. Those are kind of at the top of my list for groups to watch this weekend. Cap City as well.
Yeah, I haven't seen Cap City yet this year, or Matrix, I guess. So they're both new to our stream, so I'm excited to see them.
Yeah. And one more update. Victor J. Andrew, we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, did get the promotion up into Percussion Scholastic Open.
And if you watched them at the Dayton Regional, you saw that coming from a mile away, I thought.
Yeah.
They
They
were
were,
now confirmed.
Pretty good, I would say. Yeah, their front ensemble is something else. But yeah, so that's what you get to expect this weekend. Prelims finals Saturday and Sunday. Should be a great weekend, but we are right up against Power Regional season. It's about to get really...
It's right after this weekend, right?
Yeah.
The first weekend of Power Regionals.
Yep, so there's like 6 or 5 regionals being streamed on FloMarching next weekend after this Indy regional. So we're getting pretty hot up in here.
It's getting there. It's getting hot in here.
And with that concludes the drill down today.
I just wanted to say one more thing.
Hit us.
The floor is yours, Chris.
I had a dream a couple nights ago,
Here we go.
and it involves you, Jason, and Santa Clara. So I never marched. We covered that right at the beginning. But in my dream, I made the snare line with Santa Clara, and you were on the snare line many years ago.
Correct?
Maybe not that many. Couple
6?
6 years ago. But Jason was on the outside. He was like outside snare, and I made the line, so I was gonna like push him in one, and I was gonna be on the outside. We're like learning notes, and I was like so stoked. But I'm like in my 30s, and in my
In your dream, you were in your 30s?
Yeah, I was my age.
Okay.
And so I'm like,
Interesting.
there's no way they're going to allow me to march this summer. But the rule was, if you've never marched drum corps, you can do 1 year, so long as you make the cut, right?
Not the worst idea. DCI, if you're watching.
Put
What
that
do
on
you
one on
guys
your
think
plate.
about that being a proposed rule? If you never made the cut, you still have the chance as long as you only do it once.
If I were voting, I would veto it, but I don't think it's the worst idea.
I'm not even gonna get close
I don't
to
have
that.
the time, and I wouldn't be able to probably hang with all the young kids now. But
Yeah, think about it. Like the physicality of where drum corps has
I could
evolved.
get back in shape.
Listen, if you can make it through spring training and winter camps where you have all your video assignments, you have to do PT, stretch on your own.
I don't know. I'm a little younger than you, Chris, and I don't think I could do it again. I really don't think my knees would make it through.
Yeah,
movements.
you're probably right.
But you know what?
But anyway, it was a dream. I can dream.
One more note about a dream. Have you ever had the drum corps dream that I think everyone has had, where you're in uniform with a corps you've never marched, you're at the gate, you're taking the field, and you don't know the show? I have had that dream multiple times.
I had
a
that
lot less
all the time in 2016.
It's always, for me, it's Cavaliers. I'm always in a Cavaliers uniform.
Oh
I'm
my
walking
gosh.
on like a high school stadium, and I'm like looking at the people around me. I'm saying, where's the first dot? Like, what are the notes? Which doesn't even
Oh,
make
man.
sense, but I swear everyone in drum corps has had that dream.
I have that 2016 Blue Devils, the show, my age out that I didn't march. I always have dreams that I was
It
in that
haunts you.
that I was in that show. I hear the show music and I'm not in it. Ugh, rip. That's more of a nightmare, I guess. And on that note,
That concludes the drill down. Thanks for watching. We'll be back next Thursday.
yeah.
Peace
See ya.
out.
See you later.